Shalom Aleichem Rabotai. This is the Shir for Mishnah Yomi you've all been waiting for when we read the very last Mishnah of Zerayim and we start Shabbos on a Thursday. So we are in Bikkurim, in the fourth parak of Bikkurim at Mishnah Hey. Again, finishing up our topic of Androgynous, who is born with both male and female parts. Eino shove, lola nashim, v'lola nashim ketzad. How is Androgynous unlike both regular men and women? Ein chayovin ol tumato. If Androgynous goes into the Beis Hamikdash tameh, he's not actually chayiv because it's a suffix. Recall, if an actual real vadai woman sees red, then she's tameh, and if a man sees white, he's a zav, she's a zava, and they're mamish tameh. But here it's a suffix. Is Androgynous a man, a woman? So if he sees, then it's a suffix. Ein sorfin ol tumato. So we don't burn the kodshim that Androgynous touched, because again, it's a suffix if it's a real tuma deraisa, and a suffix, we're not going to burn it. Ve'eno nerach, and erchin, the valuations written in the Torah, if someone pledges their erech, the valuation that's stated in Vayikra, chapter 27, so he's not for certain a man or a woman, so an Androgynous doesn't have an erech according to the Torah. Lo ke'anoshim, lo ke'noshim. Not like men or like women. Ve'eno nimkar be'eved ivri. You can't sell him as an eved ivri, because in eved ivri, the servant who's Jewish, there are different laws whether the servant is a man or a woman, and we don't know what Androgynous is. So he's not like either. Lo ke'noshim, lo ke'noshim. V'im amar, and if somebody else sees Androgynous, and he sees him and says, Hareini nazir she'ein ze ish v'isha, and he says, I am a nazir if this person is either not a man or not a woman. Hare ze nazir. Then the onlooker who sees the Androgynous and makes such a vow, which we mentioned yesterday, he, out of suffix, it's not really a suffix in this case, because the Androgynous is either not a man or not a woman. He's kind of one or the other, but we just don't know. It's just a suffix. And the Mishnah concludes a very amazing statement. Rabbi Yossi Omer, Androgynous, this Androgynous is a bria bifnei otzma. It's not that it's a suffix. It's not that it's both. It's its own category. It's neither a man, nor a woman, nor a suffix. It's its own category, its own distinct category in halacha. Im isha isha. And the sages did not prove one way or another if it's like a man or like a woman. So Rabbi Yossi says that these things, it's a suffix, it's nishtahin, nishtaher, we don't know. Says, we do know, it's that we don't know. It's certain that we don't know. So it's an amazing lesson. Sometimes you have to stop and realize we just don't know everything, and that's okay, as long as you figure out the halachic ramifications of that. Of all tumtum, but there's another thing called a tumtum, and this is a person born with a membrane, like a layer of skin, covering their private parts. So there's something under there, and it's either man or woman, but we don't know yet. And maybe if he has a surgery, we're going to find out. Eino ken. So a tumtum is not like this. Eila suffix ish, suffix ish. That's where we have a suffix, according to Rabbi Yossi. With a tumtum, there is a suffix if it's a man or a woman, and we can reveal the suffix surgically, refuah shlema. So Mazel Tov, details about the siyum to follow, Bezrat Hashem, and let's turn to Moed and start Shabbos on a Thursday. As a bit of background for the first parak of Shabbos, there are 4 domains on Shabbos we're going to talk about. Reshuta Rabim. The poskim say these are major streets that go all the way through the city, at least 16 amot wide. Some aginate 600,000 people passing through the city. The public square that they have in Europe and the old country, they don't really have that here. Maybe Times Square might count as this. And Reshuta Yachid is a private space, a home, a courtyard, something fenced off. There's also a Carmelit, which is sort of something in between, like the ocean, the deserts. And there's also Makom Patur, which is very small and is not really, it's sort of like a mini domain. So the first Mishnah here, Yitziot HaShabbat, transfers on Shabbat, and we're talking about transfers that can bring a chiyuv deraita, a chiyuv of a chatat, if somebody makes a mistake. He forgot that it's Shabbos, or he didn't realize that this kind of thing was usher on Shabbos. We're going to get into that in Perek Klal Gadol, the ramifications of breaking Shabbos. So here it's a transfer from Reshuta Rabim to Reshuta Yachid, from a public domain to a private domain, or vice versa. So you'd see the Shabbat, Shtaim Shehen Arba Bifnim, Shtaim Shehen Arba B'chutz. 2 that are for from the inside and 2 that are 4 from the outside. Don't worry, the Mishnah will explain. Ketzad, how does this work? He'ani omed b'chutz. There's a poor man standing outside the door, and we're going to find out he has a basket, and he's trying to get food into his basket to take home for Shabbos. Bolabayit bifnim, and there's a wealthier man who has what to eat. He's inside. So what's the first scenario? Is poshot ha'ani et yadu lifnim. So the poor man stretches his hand into the house. He's stretching his arm from the Reshus Rabim, the public street, into the house, into a Reshut Yachid, a private house. And he puts something in the hand of the homeowner, of the wealthy man, maybe his basket. Or he takes something out of the hand, like a loaf of bread, and he removes it from the house back into the street. On the chayev bolabayit potter, the poor man is now chayev for a yetzia, for transferring a domain on Shabbat, and the homeowner inside is potter. He hasn't really done anything. What happened was the Ani did both steps. He did the transfer from one domain to the other, and he did either the putting down or the picking up. So there's actually 2 steps, 2 components to a yetzia. There's the picking up or putting down step, and there's the moving from one domain to another step, as we're going to see in this Mishnah. So next case, Poshet Bolabayit et Yadu L'chutz, if the homeowner sticks his hand outside into the public street, V'noton l'toch yadu shalani, gives a loaf of bread or something into the hand of the ani, Oshen notel metoch havichnis, or he takes the basket out of the poor man's hand and he brings it back into his hand. Now, the balabayit chayev on the potter. So the homeowner, he's done both steps. He's transferred domains, and he's done the picking up or the putting down. Third case, poshot ha'ani et yodu lifnim. The poor man stretches his hand into the house. V'notol balabayit medocha. And now instead of the poor man putting something down or picking it up, now the homeowner is the one who takes from the poor man's hand. Or the wealthy man inside puts something into the hand. Shnehem Peturi. Now they're both patur. They've both done a chatzi malacha. They've both done half of the avoda, half of the malacha. No single man has done both segments, both portions of the malacha of hotza. The next case, poshet balabayit et yadu l'chutz. The wealthy man inside sticks his hand outside. V'notel ha'ani metocha. And now the poor man picks up something from his hand, or puts something into his hands, shneim peturin. Again, this is the opposite direction, but each man is doing half of the malacha, so they're patur. Now it's usur. It's forbidden to do it, because a person might easily come to do the entire malacha deraisa if they do half of the malacha, but it's not chayev achatas. It's not chayev askila if he did it on purpose with witnesses. It's not chayev achatas if he did it by accident. Now, this first Mishnah is clearly a hypothetical case that our sages picked so we could start to understand, and we'll get into more detail about Yetzia and about transferring on Shabbat. This is obviously a hypothetical case, because if this were a real matzav, if there was literally an ani, a poor man standing outside the door, then the wealthy man inside would invite him to come inside for Shabbos. It would be a hachnas esorchim, it would be pashat. So, but obviously it's hypothetical. Mazel tov and hatzlacha on beginning our Shabbat, and sei gesund.